We talked about in the last video when we should create a new attribute and when we should combine attributes if possible. But in this video, we need to talk about what type of attributes to utilize. A big mistake that I have seen, call it beginner merchandisers make, is to have the same attribute or to use the text entry attribute type. It works, but it causes a lot of problems down the road. And in this video, we're going to talk about what types of attributes are available and how we should utilize them for the best long-term maintenance of your website. So let's talk about the specific ones that are most helpful or that you will probably reach for most. I talk about every type in the documentation here below this video, but let's just focus on what you'll probably find is most useful here. I've had a few conversations with merchants who are utilizing Adobe Commerce here recently, and they complain that Adobe Commerce is slow, buggy, and just killing them on this upgrades. But here's the thing, Adobe Commerce out of the box is fast, not buggy, and very easy to upgrade. The problem is if you have people that don't know what they're doing making these customizations, you end up with a house of cards, which makes it buggy, slow, and just killing you on upgrades. What would it be like to work with a company of competent developers, literally the best of the best, 100% certified, and we even wrote the book on how to quickly solve problems, how to turn your house of cards into a fortress. If that describes you, let's chat. Text field. Yes, this is the one that I say that people use maybe a little bit too generously. I get why, because we have an attribute value. We need to just put this value here in front of the customer. Well, it works, but again, it doesn't apply everywhere. So, and I'll talk about how the MultiSelect and Dropdown work better here in just a couple minutes. So I suggest using text field for attributes that are only one-off. You know they're one-off, like a SKU, product name, dimensional information. And honestly, the list I have in this description is about all I could think of as far as places to use a text entry. I'm honestly, I'm still thinking about this, and I cannot think of any other option. So let's keep moving. Page builder. In the documentation, there is also text area and text editor. Now, if we come into our control panel here, we can see to create a new attribute, we can see we have a long list here. Text area, text editor, and page builder. It's confusing. I recommend pretty much always using page builder. This means you're going to put rich content in here. Use rich content wherever possible. Now, if you're on the specifications tab, or the more information tab, like this, and you need to put a sentence of information there that is unique to this product, perhaps you can use the text area. I would see almost no reason ever to use the text editor type. Now, what's funny is we have this yes, no, and it is not eligible for use on configurable products. When I talk about configurable products, this is what I mean. We have our product here, and we have these options. So this is the size option right here, and we have color. Now, what happens is this configurable product is like an umbrella product. It basically hosts a number of child products underneath it. So this umbrella product helps the customer easily select which of these, let's see what there's 5 times 3, there's 15 options, which of these 15 simple SKUs that are sitting on your shelf. When they're sitting on your shelf, obviously your order fulfillment is going to pick that product, drop it in a box, and ship it out the door. But if we were to list each one of these individually, so a blue extra small, a green extra small, a purple extra small, it would be very difficult for the customer to try to figure out what to look at in this category, because all these products are going to be similar. Now, maybe we see a difference in color, but we wouldn't see a difference in size, unless you have different models, and even then, it's still going to be difficult. So the configurable product allows us to bundle all this up under one roof, and ultimately to change the image and allow us to upload different images, etc. Obviously, there are no different images for these different sizes. So all that to say, yes, no attributes, that was kind of a rabbit trail there. Yes, no attributes are not eligible to be used in configurable products like we see right here. Thus, they are best used when it comes to places like this, like we have more information down here. So for example, Maybe we have some binary options like, is this shirt machine washable? Or does this shirt have a zipper on it? I don't know, things like that. That would be a generally good use for a binary option like this. However, you could also accomplish the same behavior with a drop-down or a multi-select option, which is the very next thing we're going to talk about. So multi-select. So we should be using this, and I think I'm going to overstate this a little bit, but we should be using multi-select or drop-down as I'm going to say the majority of cases. That might be a little excessive, but a very large number of these for these attributes. And the reason is we can customize and change these values in one location. So in other words, they're centrally managed. So if I come over here, we have our drop-down list I have selected. I can add options here. And we can drag them around, put them in different orders. We can select a default option, and we'll talk about more value that this here provides in the future. One thing to call out, if you do want to create a configurable attribute, for example, like size, like we saw right here, if we want to create a configurable attribute like this, we would have to set the scope to be global. We're not going to talk much about scoping here in this course. Another subject, another time. But if you want to use this for configurable, you want to set this to be global. And I would say that this should pretty much always be set to global. So yes, for configurables, but also basically anytime. Why? Because I'll talk about this. I'm getting ahead of myself in the next video. You can enforce a unique value for this, etc. So you can also allow this to be filterable in the product grid. So these are the product grid, and we can also have this to be available to be displayed. The more you use of these allow these to put these in the product grid, the slower it becomes. So I would recommend, unless necessary, set this to be no for both of these, unless you think this is going to be helpful for searching for products on the product grid. Multiple select is very similar. Same thing, same concept, except that you can select multiple options like we see right here. So this would probably be a drop down, and this would be a multiple select, and this also is a multiple select. Now, the final one is swatches. Swatches are very valuable to communicate the type of color. Let's jump over here into our create a new attribute. And I forgot to say this earlier, but to create a new attribute, you come into stores, attributes, product. And then you can that's where you manage your product attributes there. So we're here, we can select a visual swatch. And the cool thing is, for a visual swatch, we can upload a file. So if we are a boutique selling unique clothing, we can then upload, say, an image of a pattern. Or for example, if you have a two-tone product, then you could maybe upload an image of like the two tones. We have one on the top, one on the bottom. So you can do it like that, or you can specify what color you would like for this. And we'll select a color here. Okay. So for some reason that doesn't seem to be sticking here. Oh well. At the end of the day, one thing to keep in mind is this. If you, again, back to my boutique example, if you have these very unique color names, and I listed a couple down in my notes, you might want to consider the idea of color families. A color family allows you to select, basically create a umbrella, which would then be used in filtered or in layered navigation, basically the attributes on the sidebar. By doing that, you basically shrink the number of attributes or the attribute value. So, for example, if someone searches for dress, and obviously basically the colors of the dresses are aggregated and shown on the sidebar. I'll show you what this looks like here. They're shown on the sidebar. I did not search for dress, but we have color. And if a customer is trying to find one of these options, and we have like 5 different shades of red, that can be frustrating for them. So if we bundle it up under color family, and they can select red, and then they can see all of those colors that fit into the red family. Now we have a different variety of options here. Now, if we were being very specific then with our colors, we might have burnt orange and dark orange and almost red, and I don't know, a grayish red, whatever these Like we've come up with these fancy names. Then we could create what's called a text swatch if we want. Text swatch is basically a textual version of these swatches. Now, obviously, they're assigned separately, so we would have to do it in both places. So we'd have the red visual swatch, and then we'd have the text swatch that says our fancy name, burnt orange, and whatever we else want to call it. This is the short edition. This is the long edition. Now, again, the one downside to text swatch is that it is not visual, so chances are you'd probably still want to stick to this and perhaps maybe use a customization of the front end to, here as we click into this, to be able to swap out those names or improve the user experience around this. Because again, if those colors are similar, the customer will have a hard time selecting which one they would like. So there is your overview of what does it take to create a new attribute, the different types that are available. We're setting ourselves up for success. Let's keep moving on.